I've heard you say before that strength and conditioning is like a teenager going through puberty. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So, because it's such a young industry, and I've not been in it for long enough. It's such a young field. It's still really finding its way. And you've got, there's this gap. Obviously, there's a huge gap between a lot of the research and the actual coaching side of it. But then also, it's like human beings, we're just not evolved to it. So it is like a kid going through puberty, because you're just getting a fucking hard on for everything all the time. It's like this new thing, that new thing. It's like, it's like when you're 13 years old and a girl walks past you with nice perfume, like you've got to sit down for 3 hours. That is literally like what strength and conditioning, as an analogy to me at the moment, it is. It's like there's just, everyone's looking for this, and fancy sells, doesn't it? And that's what everyone's looking for. And we've just not realized, well, first and foremost, we don't get paid enough to care as much as we do, and then also we're not good enough to think we're as good as we are. And people may not like me saying that, but it's true. It's true, because at the end of the day, I love what I do, but at the end of the day, I'm working with international athletes, and they're gonna be there anyway, with or without me. What I give them as a coach is very, they do get the results, and yeah, that's fine. But, we're the backseat driver in the program. Sometimes we're in the fucking boot. And our ego and our own need for self-importance clouds that all the time. Because we just want to stick bands on something. Or we just want to, do you know what I mean? We just want to find this new tool and whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I see it. And your listeners may not like that, but I started doing my best work when I stopped giving a shit about it, and I just started coaching, and the rest falls into place. Like, a couple of my guys like, oh, I don't want to do that. All right, fine, don't. Doesn't matter. We'll find another way. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I need my guys and even my kids and everything just to first and foremost enjoy themselves, but at the same time not think that I'm taking it all too seriously. I respect them and take it seriously enough. But God, we're not saving the world, and we're definitely not changing the world.
Yeah, putting us back into our place a little bit here. You talked about egos. What for you is what's the relationship for you? And from what you said in your short bio, you've been through a few experiences of such. What is the impact of the politics and the egos going on around staff members in different teams, regardless of the level? What's the impact of that on sports performance as a whole? How far are we from the actual potential that is maybe available if all things were run in a way that is optimal?
Oh, we're so far off, mate. We are way off. And the problem is that coaches don't do enough work on themselves. And as people, we don't do enough work on ourselves to then understand. There's people that walk around there. You've got very conscious thinkers, you've got very conscious people, and you've got very unconscious people. And there aren't enough conscious thinkers, because if there were, it would be a lot easier. Because ego will get you down. And this is why, I resigned from my dream job, and I got fired from a job because my personal standards were higher. And within that, I learned a lot about where the profession is, because, you know, Guadango, who says, like, we're not actually that far from a chromosome point of view of chimps throwing shit at a wall, you know, and if you can see people do that in their verbal dialogue, whether they're not throwing poo, but you know, they might as well be. And because everyone needs to validate themselves all the time, you know, and they're fighting over training minutes, and, you know, like, how much is enough? Who knows? But, you know, we live in this world where just because we have time, we have to fill it. And where we are and what I'm excited about going into my next project is that I'm going to do things incredibly differently. And, you know, I've been very outspoken about a lot of my views, and I'm actually putting myself on the line and going back in to try and change it. I got nothing to lose, but we, as an industry, like I said, we need to let go of what we think we know, let go of what we do know, and just exist in what we see and how we work with other people and how we just navigate it, if that makes sense. Because that's where the journey's done. That's where the money is. Like, if you go back, and this is where, like another part, like, don't get me on stoicism and in the modern world, and like that's another S&C thing. It's like, we've got to be stoic. No, you fucking idiot, you don't. Like, you've got to self-optimize as a human being, and you can't, like all these famous stoic people had a hard life. You've got an easy life. It's really easy, you know. So we kind of we do this huge disconnect in what we think we do versus what we actually do, versus how we go about business. And then also, the most important, if there's any coach out there that's actually had coach burnout, I've had it 2 or 3 times. We fail to take care of ourselves. And if we don't 100% like optimize ourselves as someone who's trying to help someone else, then if you're running on 60%, then you're not even going to be able to give that 60% to someone else for that limited time. I know that's bounced around. That's how my head works, but that bounced around a lot. But that's kind of how the ego will fuck us, basically.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. So from your point of view, and moving kind of a little bit deeper into that conversation, how do you, from a more of an organization standpoint, rather than just the S&C coach, how do you create an environment that's conducive to performance and for the bettering of the athletes themselves? Because at the end of the day, that's our job, is to make them better. It's not about us. So how do we create that at an organizational level?
All right. So the key question that so I'm massive into well-being and optimization. Like, I do loads of my own personal work. I've got like a therapist and stuff, a performance coach, see twice a week. And the one question that always comes up, which is like the key question, it's like, in a perfect world, what would it look like? And then you just let someone talk. In a perfect world, what would it look like? Because then you understand, and then this is the thing as well. If you let someone speak for long enough, they'll reveal their true intentions. So if you have someone in front of you, ask them, well, in a perfect world, what do you want? From an organizational level, like if you've got to talk to the director of rugby, or you've got to talk to the captain, you've got to talk to a player, have this conversation. What would you want in a perfect world? What does this mean to you? And then all of a sudden, you'll start having a conversation. You'll start having meaningful practice. You'll start, everyone talks about relationships. Relationships are really important in professional sport, in team sport, but yet we have Fat Club. Yet we still punish people with fitness. That is not a level playing field. The guy that plays the game is more important than the guy that's telling them or trying to get them to play the game better. And we lose sight of that as an organizational point of view. The guy that's on the field is the most important. The guy off the field with a clipboard and a whistle that's pissing everyone else off is a dickhead and needs to know that you are actually down regulating this environment to the point of which you create resentment and people don't want to go to work. And also you got to understand the story and the fairy tale of these people. I'm a big believer in stories, and you know, you grow up, you want to play for England, you grow up, you want to be a professional athlete, you want the accolades, you want all of those things, and then you get there and you've got some guy just breathing down your neck telling you what to do all the time, and then that's not going to allow you to be good. That's not going to allow you to have a constructive, healthy relationship. You know, I say to, you know, even with Alex and all my athletes, is if I'm getting it wrong, call me out, tell me this is not right. This is not right. We're not doing this. Is not right. Okay, all right, cool. Why? How? Humanize everything. And then you'll be all right. And have fun. Like, literally have fun. There's a huge disconnect that I find between preparation for the game and then playing the game in the week. So classic team run, we get it right. Doesn't matter if they don't get it right on a Thursday, because they play the game in 2 days' time. They don't understand the psychology of failure and rehearsal and practice. And because scoring it, like, this is the thing in team runs and as well, it's like, you know, allowing them to score the try it doesn't work.